What's up, motherfucks? It's your boy, the hater. Not feeling very good today. I have a little bit of a headache. I don't know why up in this bitch. You know what I mean? I feel fine otherwise. Just have this weird headache. Like I slept well, I ate well, whatever, right? Maybe it's NXT Stand and Deliver. It probably is. So let's talk about that, motherfuckers. We're gonna talk about the Stand and Deliver Night 2, right? Night 2. Strangely enough, like Night 2, I don't know. I get the impression that Night 2 was basically like, just. It felt like less important than Night 1 for some reason. I don't know how to explain it. Maybe because Night 1 was Night 1 and it's like, oh, like the event's starting and you're getting excited for WrestleMania and this is just kind of in the way to WrestleMania. But, yeah, like the event started. Apparently there was a dark match once again. Killian Dane and Drake Maverick beat Breezango, which really shows you where Breezango fits in the hierarchy of WWE. They're like at the very, very bottom. Like you could make an argument that Fandango, like if you were to release a WWE game tomorrow, Fandango should be the lowest rated, or Tyler Breeze should be the lowest rated wrestler in this game. You know what I mean? Like right there with Arya Davari. You know what I mean? Like these people they're never on TV. They went to NXT and it was just like this big deal kind of. They kind of reinvented themselves. They became tag team champions and now they're losing to everyone. Because I would say Killian Dane and Drake Maverick are also right there in the sense of like, just really low-ranking superstars, like people that like either never made it in the case of Killian Dane, or Rockstar Spud is Rockstar Spud, motherfucks, or Drake Maverick, whatever the fuck they call him now. Like he knows his role in the card. This is his role, to elevate other people, to be a jobber, and to occasionally have a nice like underdog storyline, which is good. There's always a need for that, One of my fans, or maybe just a person in the comments, said in the comments, they were like, hater, you should talk shit about Marco Stunt. But I feel the same way about Marco Stunt as I do about Drake Maverick. You know what I mean? Because it's like, all right, I get it. Like, it's a big person sport, right? But I'm not of the opinion that only big muscle guys should be in wrestling. You know what I mean? I'm just of the opinion that people like Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins might not be necessary. You know what I mean? So that's kind of my whole thing, right? It's not exactly like anything else, but the fact that like we have a lot of average people. If you're not average, I'm cool with you being in wrestling. So for example, you take like Marco Stunt or Drake Maverick, they're not average people, right? They are special people. Like, they're average. They're straying from the average on the other side of the spectrum. They're straying towards the small, obviously, right? But that's interesting too, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to see wrestling be like a bunch of 5'8" guys, right? But if it's like a 6'5" guy versus a 5'1" guy, that's much more compelling than two 5'8" guys. Unless, you're talking about actual big guys who are like 6'2", 6'3", like Booker T's and like Cena's and that kind of like level of person, right? People that are obviously above average, but are not like insanely large like Braun Strowman or insanely small. That's the best. That's the best recipe because like you see cool shit, You're seeing cool things happen. You're seeing big men being thrown around and suplexed and slammed and it looks badass. And it also looks fair. But, so I have no problem with like Marco Stunt specifically or Drake Maverick, not at all actually. I think Marco Stunt is one of the more interesting guys in AEW because he at least like, he's one of those people that like, he doesn't need a gimmick because his size is his gimmick, So like, as a result of that, I feel like he's more important in my opinion than let's say like, I don't know, the other guy in the Acclaim, not Max Caster, but the other guy. Like it's more interesting than that guy. He's more interesting than Jack Evans. Or, like Angelico, you know what I mean? He's more interesting than these guys. So, like, he's more interesting to me than Orange Cassidy. Like, Orange Cassidy has no reason to be there. So, like, there's always a spot for small guys, depending on the circumstance, But more on that later, This match I didn't watch because I didn't even know it was happening, to be honest. So, here we are. And, yeah, that's how that went. I guess the number one contenders now already are Killian Dane and Drake Maverick because they won. And they're going to fight MSK for the tag team championships. Very odd if you think about it. Like, they should have had this match on the first night. And then the tag team title match should have been on the second night, right? Because it's like, dude, the tag match was yesterday. Like the real tag teams that should be champions wrestled yesterday. You're like the B-side, and you're going to get your number one contenders match the day after. Doesn't make any sense, but whatever, it is what it is, right? Next up, we had Santos Escobar versus Jordan Devlin, the Irish Ass, right? So the Irish Ass comes out, And he is just like the most generic looking guy of all time, right? He literally is Finn Balor, you know? Finn Balor, first of all, they look exactly the same, except for Jordan Devlin's head is a little bit bigger, you know? Like in terms of like the proportionality of his head to his body is different than like Finn Balor's. I mean, Finn Balor also has a big head and a little body, but this guy, I mean, this guy has like, his head is just gigantic, you know what I mean? Compared to his tiny, tiny frame. So, I mean, to be honest, I didn't really give a shit about this match because I'm sure the match would have been good, and it wasn't horrible, but it wasn't as good as I thought it would be either, you know what I mean? Santos Escobar, like here's how you know someone sucks. You know, when they come to the ring, they do nothing, and then you hear like Todd Phillips or whatever, the fucking NXT Todd Phillips. I don't even know these fuckers' names anymore, right? So like, it's just like Jericho said about MJF and fucking FTR. He's like, you're interchangeable, you know? Just like these announcers, they're interchangeable. I don't know their names. I really don't. Like when I say Todd Phillips, I always doubt myself. I'm not sure if it's Tom Phillips or Todd Phillips. I just call them the other two Michael Coles, you know? So basically, like the Michael Cole of NXT says about Santos Escobar, charisma oozing out of him. Whoa, wait a second, motherfuccks. Do not confuse charisma, you know, for a guy that's walking out. What charisma has he shown? You know, now I'm not saying Santos Escobar has zero charisma. Like, he's more charismatic than, like, Lince Dorado, obviously, you know what I'm saying? And the people that he should be compared to. Like, he's more charismatic than Raul Mendoza, unfortunately, even though I like Raul Mendoza. He's more like Raul Mendoza's awkward. Like, he comes out and he looks weird. It's like, this guy's a fucking dweeb. Like, I don't want to see this guy on TV anymore, you know? So, but he's not this, like, charismatic guy. Certainly, he's not oozing charisma, you know? That's just disingenuous right there, cucks. So, there you have it, you know? He came out. Jordan Devlin, the Irish ass, came out and, like, I mean, I haven't seen this guy on TV. The last time I saw him like wrestle was when he won the Cruiserweight title in some other NXT takeover like a year and a half ago. You know what I mean? So, like, as far as I'm concerned, this is presented as Santos Escobar just eventually reclaiming what is rightfully his. Let's be real. He won the tournament. He's been defending it. Like, that's not how it works. You don't get to hold on to the interim title forever doing nothing. You know, as far as I know, I don't even think he's defending it in England, but whatever. It is what it is, you know? Unfortunately, COVID made it so there's two champions, and this is one of the good things that came out of COVID in terms of wrestling, right? Like, this actually is a storyline that needs some sort of resolution, right? Where these two guys both have a claim to the title, and they're far apart. It's not like they're avoiding each other or anything like that. They just can't. Like, it's just not feasible. So the match happened. The Irish ass Jordan Devlin really relied a lot on the Spanish fly. Like, the amount of Spanish flies that were done in this event were insane. Second only to the liver shot, but we'll get to that later, motherfucks. You know, so like they're doing all these things, right? These Spanish flies. Ultimately, the match ends exactly how everyone thought it would. Legado del Fantasma come out, they interfere a little bit, and eventually Santos Escobar headbutts Jordan Devlin off the ladder, but Jordan Devlin like flies backwards into another ladder that was set up in the corner, right, to like take him out. But it was ridiculous how far back he flew. Like, you know, Santos Escobar is like a normal guy. He's not like Vladimir Kozlov, for example, who had a headbutt and his head looked like a battering ram. You know, his head was shaped like a trapezoid. You know, so like, you know, it didn't really like feel correct, but it was what it was. The match didn't feel eventful. Eventually, Santos' son came out to celebrate with him, and afterwards he caught an interview being like, Legado is family. I mean, I guess a decent match. Like, I don't have anything bad to say about this match in terms of like how it went down, but it wasn't very entertaining. You know, it just wasn't. Like, here's the thing, right? Finn Balor and Jordan Devlin wrestle very similarly. Like, Jordan Devlin obviously does this Spanish fly thing. He keeps doing it, you know? But beyond that, like, he's not doing anything really like that impressive, right? He did a moonsault a couple of times, you know, like he did a moonsault off the ladder, a moonsault off the ropes. But Santos Escobar, even though he's a luchador, and this is something I like about him, don't get me wrong. Even though he's a luchador, he doesn't really wrestle like a luchador, right? His wrestling style is like more, let's say, like Del Rio's, who's also a luchador, than it is like Rey Fenix's. You know, he has a grounded moveset. His moves are like, kind of power moves, you could call them, right? He's not a guy who's just there flying around. You know, which I like, because I don't understand why every luchador has to do these crazy over-the-top moves. But in a ladder match between two cruiserweights, unfortunately, that's what we've come to expect, right? We've come to expect crazy ladder shit. And as a ladder match, this match wasn't that good. You know, like, it was a good match for an NXT match. It was a good match for two jobbers and for the cruiserweight division, which is finally on TV, finally. but it's not really a good ladder match, like especially compared to other ladder matches. And I believe it's because like these guys just aren't that athletic, nor are they that creative. So here we are. Next up, we got Ember Moon and Shotzi Blackheart versus The Way. Ember Moon and Shotzi Blackheart won. The only thing cool about this match was the finish, because Ember Moon's the Eclipse is still an awesome move, even though she sucks. She did like a double Eclipse on The Way, and then Shotzi hit the senton, which actually looked pretty good in the sense that it looked like it hurt. Like it looked like Shotzi did it in a way that wanted to inflict the most amount of damage. Not like, for example, the coup de grace that Balor does, where like he does it and it seems like you're not trying, like it seems like he's pulling back and trying not to hurt the guy, which is good. You don't want to hurt the guy, Finn Balor's like 190 pounds. It's a little bit different when he does it versus when this broad does it. But nonetheless, I don't really like that shit. So fuck Finn Balor. Shotzi Hart did well. This match, I'm not going to say I enjoyed it because I didn't enjoy it, but I did enjoy it more than I thought I would, because I thought I would hate it I thought it'd be like a 0 out of 5, and it was like a 2 out of 5. So, it definitely exceeded my expectations, the little bit that I watched. I was playing on my Switch handheld version, handheld mode, while I was watching this match, so I didn't give a fuck. Then we have Johnny Gargano versus Bronson Reed, which honestly is not a pay-per-view quality match. It's neither of these guys are pay-per-view level people. I know Johnny Gargano's been in more NXT takeovers than anybody else, but that's not a good thing, motherfucks. That's a bad thing, right? That is only a product of the fact that this guy will never be on the main roster. So, of course, you're going to keep him in NXT. And NXT, at this point, he's like the Undertaker of NXT almost, Like, Johnny Gargano could go down as the Undertaker of NXT. Maybe in like 15 or 20 NXT takeovers, NXT stand and delivers, I should say, right? It'll be like Johnny Gargano versus like, I don't know, some jabron from the future, right? 20 years from now, some guy that's not even born yet, right? Who is like born today. 20 years later, he's gonna wrestle Johnny Gargano in the like NXT, and Johnny Gargano will be like the guy. He'll go down as the greatest NXT competitor, but a guy that never went to the main roster. You know what I mean? He'll be like that. So, but other than that, like these guys, there's neither of them very compelling, And just like I said in my last video, and another one that I made about this, that I haven't released yet, the big guy, little guy commentary is ridiculous, right? The scenario is preposterous. Everything is stupid, Like the announcers, they don't acknowledge the fact that like they should just straight up say, like, Johnny Gargano has an impossible task ahead of him because he is smaller than this guy by about 4 times. Like, I bet you, like, honestly, I think Johnny Gargano is probably like 140 pounds at most. This guy's like, they say he's 5'8", but I think he's like 5'5", 5'6". And he's a skinny, ripped 5'6", which means he might. I have a friend. Let me tell you this way. I have a friend who's like 5'11", almost 6 foot. He has like, he doesn't have the Johnny Gargano body type, because Johnny Gargano is more muscular than my friend in the sense that my friend doesn't really lift. My friend's really, really skinny, so he has like an 8-pack. He's like lean as shit. He has a really fast metabolism, and he weighs like 120 pounds at almost 6 foot. So Johnny Gargano, if he's like 135, I honestly wouldn't be shocked. Johnny Gargano is 135 with how lean he is, So it's like, what's his face? Bronson Reed is like nearly 400 pounds. This guy's like way, way above like 350. You know what I'm saying? He is a fat fuck. Like he's tall and he is obese. Like he isn't like Samoa Joe big. He's not Bull Dempsey big. He's not even Big Show big. He's like Viscera. He's like Viscera, except like not as tall, so he might not weigh as much. But he is like that kind of bulbous. He's bulbous. You know what I'm saying? He's a bulbous guy. So this guy literally might weigh nearly 3 times Johnny Gargano's weight. So the announcers should just immediately say, if Johnny Gargano pulls this off, it'll be the greatest upset in the history of WWE. Because it would be true. You know what I'm saying? It would be true. But no, they have to portray Johnny Gargano as a guy who really has a good shot because he's experienced and all this other shit, which means absolutely nothing in the real world. That's one thing that people talk about. Oh, you need experience. No, you don't. If you're brilliant, if you're good at something, you don't need experience. You can pick it up. You can learn it fast. That's how we surpass each other, motherfucks. That's how we surpass each other. Like when LeBron James joined the NBA, yeah, he needed experience to to overcome players like Peja Stojakovic, let's say, right? But he didn't experience to overcome some jabron bench warmer. He's already better than the bench warmer who has way more experience than him, But LeBron is better. And then with experience, he can overcome the elites. And then with more experience, he can become one of the greatest of all time, right? That's kind of how it should be portrayed in wrestling too. You can't just put everything on experience and be like, Gargano has experience, so therefore, motherfucks, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, he is a favorite or has like a good shot of beating, what's his face? Bronson Reed. Now, because of the fact that Bronson Reed never really got a push, and this win came kind of out of nowhere, like he was feuding with LA Knight for a little bit, I started running scenarios in my head of what could happen in this match. One scenario is Bronson Reed wins and then drops the title immediately to LA Knight. But, I mean, I honestly think LA Knight is pretty much done already because he's just, like, lost twice. Like, Bronson Reed has pinned him twice in the last, like, 2 weeks, you know? And if you want to rehabilitate him, you're going to want to put him, you want to have LA Knight go after, like, Karrion Kross or something like that, you know what I mean? Maybe turn him, like, pseudo-face, and his argument can be like, yo, you think you're great, but you're not LA Knight. And you have to have him feud, basically, for the world title, for the NXT title, right? You can't have this cocksucker feud for the intercontinental version of, like, NXT, you know what I'm saying? You can't do that. It's too below him, you know what I mean? He was TNA champion, motherfucks. So, there you have it. I mean, nothing really to say here. The match actually was not atrocious. You know, Johnny Gargano, he had to do 2 DDTs, whatever, 1 final beats to him. Like, for what it wasn't a horrible match. But I couldn't get myself away from it. You know, this match should be like the whole match should have been carried out. Like, for example, I'll give you a perfect example. Like the Roman Reigns versus Daniel Bryan match at the last pay-per-view, which I thought was essentially a 5-star match. You know, that match was perfect. Now, the match did have it did go on a little too long. It did have some silliness, and there was a couple of times in the match when I looked at the match and I was like, you know, this is not that good, right? Like this part didn't make any sense. That part didn't make any sense, you know? But the match, the philosophy of the match, the psychology of the match was if Roman Reigns gets his hands on Daniel Bryan, he's going to beat the shit out of him. But Daniel Bryan can, you know, be outside the perimeter, kick him like here and there, poke at him like a game of Mortal Kombat, make it all pokey, you know, keep his distance, and then try to get a submission, right? So the 2 wrestling styles of the guys were already, like, predetermined, right? And the difference between Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan is not that big. Now, of course, it's big enough, right? It's big enough where if you see those 2 guys in the street, you're going to be like, okay, Roman Reigns would probably beat the shit out of Daniel Bryan. But if Daniel Bryan beat the shit out of Roman Reigns, it wouldn't be this, like, shocking moment. It wouldn't be like, how did the little guy beat the big guy? Because it happens. Roman Reigns isn't that big. He's like 6'2", 6'3", and Daniel Bryan is like 5'10", they say, but let's say he's like 5'8", right? It happens all the time. 5'8" people beat up 6'2", 6'3" people. It happens, you know? It's not this like, and Daniel Bryan is not like a normal guy. Like he's a muscular guy. He's obviously in shape, you know what I'm saying? Like he's not like a pussy, right? And neither is Roman Reigns. But it wouldn't be this like, holy shit, how did Daniel Bryan beat up Roman Reigns? It would be within the realm of possibility, you know? But Johnny Gargano beating up Bronson Reed is not in the realm of possibility. So the question then becomes, why wasn't this match wrestled similarly to Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns? You know, that's how the match should be wrestled. The whole point of the match should be that if Bronson Reed gets his hands on Gargano, it's over. You know what I'm saying? It's done. That's what it is, right? You know, and Johnny Gargano has to find ways, you know, cheating maybe, like kicking him in the knee, that kind of stuff, to like get around him. He has to use his quickness. Not this like competitive match where like they're countering each other. You know, like if Bronson Reed grabs him in like any kind of suplex, that should be the end of the match. He should suplex him like he did several times, and then pick him up, power bomb him. That should be the end of it. You know, because he's so much bigger and stronger. So that's why I really liked Daniel Bryan versus Roman Reigns, because it made sense. It was a match that was wrestled in the correct way, and the discrepancy between the sizes of Reigns and Bryan is not even that big. So if they can do it, sure as shit you can put it up for this match, you know? Whatever. It is what it is, motherfucks. It is what it is. The match was okay for what it was, but I didn't like it. Next up, surprisingly enough, which this made sense afterwards, but I thought that the final match would have been Karrion Kross versus Finn Balor, but it wasn't, because like the unsanctioned match, they really went all out on that one. So it's like you have to close the show with that. You can't really do the unsanctioned match and then you know, have the fans be bored to death by like arguably, honestly, the 2 most boring wrestlers in NXT, Karrion Kross and Finn Balor, right? This was boring as shit. First of all, I am not like Finn Balor doesn't feel like a champion. He does not feel like the face of NXT. It is impossible for me to look at Finn Balor and consider like someone beating him to be an accomplishment. I don't, motherfucks. I don't at all. Nothing feels great about beating Finn Balor because Finn Balor's got his ass beat by everybody, number one. Two, in the little promo package before, they show Karrion Kross doing some boxing, which is weird, you know? Whatever, it is what it is. Doing some boxing, and it's like black and white, right? And what's his face? They talk about like how they're working out to get ready for the match, right? Who gives a fuck about that? And Finn Balor says, you know, like, I was champion too, and like, basically he's talking about how he was the first Universal Champion, and then the title was stripped from him, right? Because he got injured, you know? And then afterwards, he's like, I came back and became a champion again. And he meant he came back to NXT and became a champion again. So there you go, motherfucks. You know what I'm saying? Now, with that in mind, right? With that in mind, with the idea that Finn Balor came back to NXT after being the first ever Universal Champion, that really puts into perspective how much of a flop Finn Balor has been for the WWE. Like this guy, like he's honestly on the same level as like Andrade, right? He like that kind of a flop. A guy who was like, you know, set up to become like a major star and just didn't achieve it. It's as simple as that, motherfucks. You know, like Finn Balor was also drafted like in the first round of the draft after he left NXT, and he became Universal Champion like immediately afterwards. This was a mistake, you know. Like they understood it was a mistake after they eventually took the title like away from him for injury. But the point was that when he came back, he was not on the same spot on the card anymore for obvious reasons. You know what I'm saying? Like, how can he be? He's not that good. You know, same thing. Humberto Carrillo, Andrade, all these people that get drafted in the first round, and then they end up like either like jobless or, you know, or chasing Akira Tozawa for the 24/7 title. You know, that's the problem here. So with all that being said, beating Finn Balor doesn't feel like a big deal. You know? On the other side of the coin, Karrion Kross already was NXT champion. So him winning it doesn't feel like a big deal. It feels like what is supposed to happen. Like, did anyone really think that Finn Balor was going to win this? You know what I mean? Like, I thought personally, and I've said this in my past videos, that Finn Balor would come out as the demon, Finn Balor, and Karrion Kross would beat the demon. And I feel like that's what's going to happen in the future at the next NXT TakeOver. Maybe it'll be like the demon Finn Balor versus Karrion Kross, and Karrion Kross is going to beat that guy too. He's going to be like the first one to beat him. You know? The match was not entertaining. It had some parts. Okay, first of all, the good parts. I got to give props where props are due. Karrion Kross came out and he looked jacked. All right? Typically, I don't see this guy as being super jacked, but right now he came looking jacked. He had like an 8-pack, right? He just looked like a beast, you know? Typically, he looks kind of like, you know, a little bit worse shape than Randy Orton. You know what I mean? Like, but this time he came looking jacked. He was swole, came out as a gladiator, which was really dumb. You know, because his whole thing is like he's like a dark and mysterious character, and then he's like a gladiator too, apparently, right? Scarlet Bordeaux came out looking like a retard. You know, I really don't see her purpose at all. I think she's just a waste of money. Like, she's not like, I remember when she was in ROH and she was one of the hoopla hotties, right? And she actually looked good. Now she's done something to her face. She's done that like Lana surgery or whatever, where they amplify the cheekbones. You know, more on that in another video actually. But you know, she doesn't look good in my opinion. One, two, she doesn't add anything to the character. She just comes out and sings, which is what she did, and she holds an hourglass. Fucking asshole job, you know? So basically the match starts, and this match is a bit more like the Daniel Bryan Roman Reigns match in its philosophy, right? Where the idea is, like, Karrion Kross is clearly superior to Finn Balor as a human being. So Finn Balor is going to have to be wily and quick. And this is portrayed pretty well during the match. So that's also kind of good. Karrion Kross throws him around like he's nothing, you know? And Finn Balor's like laughing it off because he's like, I don't give a fuck, I'm still the prince, or whatever, right? Eventually, the match ends in a shitty fashion after Karrion Kross starts pummeling Balor in the back of his head with his forearm while Finn Balor's on the ground. He eventually hits him with a running forearm to the back of the head, which is, you know, it used to be the worst finisher in history, but now Walter's chop to the chest is the worst finisher. So, you know, congratulations, Karrion Kross. You moved up the list, kid. So, basically, that's how that goes down, right? He becomes champion, but it doesn't feel like a big deal. It doesn't feel like a show closing moment. And that's why it wasn't a show closing moment. Because think about this, motherfucks. Karrion Kross is undefeated, right? Undefeated. He's now 13-0. In like the year and a half he's been there, he's had only 13 matches. He's undefeated. Finn Balor is a former actual world champion, and arguably the greatest NXT champion of all time. Also, Finn Balor has recently defeated Adam Cole and recently defeated Kyle O'Reilly multiple times. So in what world should Kyle O'Reilly versus Adam Cole, two guys that lost to the champion, why should they be in the main event? I'll tell you why, motherfucks. Because there's nothing compelling about selling to the crowd the idea of Finn Balor versus Karrion Kross. Nobody cares, you know? The first time when it was Karrion Kross versus Keith Lee, people cared because there was a genuine question of, will Keith Lee beat Karrion Kross, who's undefeated and clearly positioned to be a big deal? Or will Karrion Kross win the title for the first time, ending Keith Lee's title reign prematurely? You know, I kind of miss Keith Lee, motherfucks. I miss NXT Keith Lee because Keith Lee in NXT, when he was NXT North American champion, the title felt like it meant something. You know, it felt important. And then he gave it away, and that was the end of that. Like, who gives a fuck about the title anymore? He gave it away. Hey, I don't want it anymore. I'm a real champ now. You know. So there you have it, cucks. This match was not very enjoyable, but I can't really fault. I want to, but I can't fault Karrion Kross on this. This match is not enjoyable because no match with Finn Balor versus a bigger guy has ever been enjoyable. Finn Balor versus the small guy is enjoyable once because it's the same match every time. This wasn't very enjoyable. Karrion Kross won. During the match, he kept making the same facial expression, and at one point he said, "Doomsday," because he was going to go do the Doomsday Saito suplex. I don't even know what the fuck that means. Doomsday. What doomsday have you caused? All you've done is win 13 matches in a year and then got injured. You know what I'm saying? It's not like this guy's this dominant champion. You know? Think about what this means, motherfucks. Karrion Kross has won the championship two times in 13 matches. I rest my case, motherfucks. I rest my case. So, afterwards, we have the unsanctioned match, which did not feel like an unsanctioned match because everybody was there. Like, the referee was just wearing a black shirt. You know, clearly the WWE production was obviously involved. Everyone was involved. It was the same thing as a normal match. It's just to sell the idea that they can't sue WWE. Whatever, you know? The match starts, and the match did have its moments. It did have its moments. You know, and some things were cool, and they obviously tried really hard. And they wrestled for 35 minutes, you know? They went for a long time. So I have to give props to that, right? Kyle O'Reilly's entrance music was catchy. I like that too. Now let's talk about the things that I don't like, motherfucks. Number one, Adam Cole's physical appearance, okay? This guy is obviously a handsome guy, but his physique leaves a lot to be desired for. Adam Cole might be the wrestler to least look like a wrestler in the longest time that has achieved this level of success. Because certainly there are wrestlers that are in worse shape, right? Like there's plenty of wrestlers like that fat guy in AEW, you know, or Evil Uno, for example, or fucking Stu Grayson from Dark Order, or Orange Cassidy. Like, he's in better shape than a lot of these guys that I just mentioned, right? But a lot of the guys that I mentioned, except for Orange Cassidy, a lot of these guys are jobbers, even in AEW. And even Orange Cassidy's not a jobber. He's still in AEW, so he's kind of a jobber, you know? Adam Cole is presented as the absolute number one guy in NXT. I don't care who the champion is. Adam Cole is the number one guy, you know? He just can't be champion forever. But Karrion Kross is not going to beat his streak. You know what I mean? Adam Cole is the number one NXT guy. And he looks like a regular guy. I say this a lot about people, and sometimes it's exaggerated. So I might say CM Punk looks like a regular guy. But he obviously doesn't. If you saw CM Punk walking down the street and you didn't know who he was, you'd be like, oh, that's a big dude, you know? He's 6'1", 6'2", and he's muscular enough. Like, if he wears a t-shirt, you'd be like, that's a muscular guy. He must go to the gym. But if Adam Cole walks around, you'd be like, who's this pussy? I want to beat him up for fun, you know what I mean? Like, look at him, walking around with this long hair, you know, and his smirk. And I want to just attack him for no reason, right? Is what a lot of people would think. You shouldn't do that, of course, but that's what people would think, motherfucks. And he's not this, tough-looking guy at all. He's not this, smaller, less physically imposing guy, but at least he has, a physically, an imposing face. Like Dexter Lumis, for example. If you just take off Dexter Lumis' head and you switch it with Adam Cole's head, then both of them would look intimidating because Dexter Lumis has a good physique, And he also has like a scary face. So you put that face on Adam Cole's body, you're like, okay, I can tolerate this guy as being like a psychopath or something, right? You know, but Adam Cole has neither like an intimidating face nor an intimidating physique. Now, he is athletic, like, you know, he can pick people up and he can do things. He's not like a complete loser, but he is not like this tip-top shape guy. And I think that's the worst physical manifestation of a shitty wrestler. It's when you do not look the part. Now, like when Triple H was fat a while ago, like back in the day, when he was like a fat fuck, remember fat Triple H? Now he looks like so much better, you know, testosterone replacement therapy probably, and all these other advents in science. You know, he was gaining weight because he was like in his 40s, you know? He was in his 40s and probably eating a lot of food to like maintain his size, and he was gaining weight, you know? Especially when you're traveling. So it's like, when you see that, you just lose all respect for the guy. Like when Triple H would come out with like a beer belly, and he's out there being presented as a main eventer, like I know he's still Triple H. I know his arms are still huge. But it's like, bro, like, look at you. You can't even be the champion of your own, like, you know, physique. And you're going to go beat up like Undertaker? I don't think so, pal. Yeah? Same thing with Adam Cole. The fact that he's like chubby and like weird looking is inexcusable, you know? It's like Wrestle Kingdom a few years ago when Tetsuya Naito won both titles or whatever. And he's like chubby. And I'm like, dude, this guy shouldn't be the champion of anything. As Ric Flair would say, this guy wouldn't be the champion at anything in his life. You know what I mean? So there you have it, cucks. That's one thing that I fucking hated about this match was the physique of Adam Cole. Then the pace of the match. A lot of people don't talk about pace, but I do, cucks. The pacing of the match was atrocious. This match was unwatchable. It reminded me of this old match between Triple H and Randy Orton, right? And in that night, Triple H won and lost the title like 3 times, right? He like beat Umaga or something, and then he lost the title, and then he won the title, and then in the end, he was champion at the end of the night, and he wrestled Randy Orton in like a last man standing, I think, or something, right? And in this match, a lot of people liked the last man standing match, but I hated it. Because the match was basically like, they punch each other in the face a couple of times, then one of them does like a big move. Like one of them hits the other guy with like steel steps. And they both fall down to the ground for 9 seconds. This is how this match felt. You know? Like they do a move and then they just be like laying down for like 18 seconds while the fans chant, this is awesome, you know? There were a lot of situations in this match that like didn't feel like they would make sense in a real fight. The finish of the match was also weak. Kyle O'Reilly wrapped a chain around his neck, around his knee, but he didn't do a good job. And then he like knee dropped Adam Cole onto a few chairs with a chain knee. But the chain knee, it was like, he wrapped around once. So it's like, it wouldn't even hurt, motherfucks. It wouldn't even hurt, you know? It would hurt a little bit, but it wouldn't be like this like super painful thing. And also the knee drop is not really Kyle O'Reilly's finishing move. And I've seen him do it a couple times, but it's not his finisher. So it's like a weird way to end the match. And more importantly, the reason why this event sucked and why this match sucked is that absolutely nothing changes if Kyle O'Reilly wins or if Adam Cole wins. Nothing changes. The feud is over. They made it clear that Undisputed Era is over now. So the question becomes, motherfucks, the question becomes, what's going to happen next? Who knows? Who cares? But whatever would happen next would happen if Adam Cole won and Kyle O'Reilly lost. Which means, of course, that this match was meaningless. It had zero meaning, you know, zero implications towards anything, right? I don't think Kyle O'Reilly is going to be made into a star as a result. And you know what, motherfuckers, let me tell you this other thing. For a grudge match, for a match where the premise was we have to hurt each other, Wade Barrett said it during commentary. He said Adam Cole wants to end Kyle O'Reilly's career. It's not about winning the match. He said this like at like, let's say, the 30-minute mark. He's like, it's not about, because Adam Cole, I guess, had an opportunity to end the match, and he did it. And Wade Barrett is like, he wants to hurt Kyle O'Reilly. He doesn't want to end the match. But in the first 5 minutes, he went for several pinfalls. So if he wants to hurt him, why is he trying to pin him in the first 5 minutes? You know, he did like a move and he tried to pin him, and then he kicked out, and Adam Cole was upset with the referee, like, oh, why don't you count faster? Another thing, last thing about this match. The referee was like the Indian guy. I don't know his name. I don't know his name. But the Indian referee that we see sometimes on Raw, but I think we see him on NXT a lot. Could be wrong. But this guy has stood out as the Indian referee. The Indian referee gets attacked for fucking no reason by Adam Cole. Beth Phoenix says like, oh, Adam Cole is a monster for doing this. And the fucking neckbeards, the 15 neckbeards that they have in attendance, start chanting, "You deserve it!" Like the referee deserves getting hit by Adam Cole because he was telling Adam Cole not to kill Kyle O'Reilly, basically, right? And Beth Phoenix is trying to like put context into like the evil of Adam Cole, but the fans are like, "You deserve it." That's not even the problem, though. I think that is a problem. That's not even the problem. The real problem is that this referee is huge compared to Adam Cole. The arms of this referee are like twice the size of the arms of Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole. So, in real life, like if someone said, "Hater, you have $2,000 and you're going to have to bet on a fight, on a UFC or a boxing match or a fight to the death between the Indian referee and Adam Cole," I would bet all of it on the Indian referee with absolutely zero hesitation. The wrestler has to at least be bigger than the referee, you fucking retards. Earlier in the night, they show Adam Cole walking in and Regal confronting him. Regal is like 1.5 feet bigger than Adam Cole. Regal, at this age, would beat the shit out of Adam Cole, no problems. Zero problems, motherfucks. He would have no issue with just butchering Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly at the same time. It wouldn't even be close. It wouldn't even be close. You know? So that's what I'm saying, right? You have to have the match be a bit believable if you want it to make sense. This match neither made sense, nor was it believable. So thus far, NXT Stand and Deliver Night 2 falls to second place behind Night 1 in the hierarchy of this weekend's wrestling events. At the same time, motherfucks, both of them sucked ass, so who gives a fuck? Let's see what happens next. Bitches!